Chapter 76. This is the form of the sacred beast to maintain its spiritual qi. Old Man Song explained, once in battle, it will transform into a battle beast form. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes, carefully sizing up the white fluffy little thing in front of her. The little thing also blinked back at her with its blank and innocent blood-colored eyes. No matter how she looked at it, it was impossible to imagine that it was the giant beast in her dream that had a sharp howl and made hundreds of thousands of cultivators bow down to it. Wait a minute. Yiqing Luo's hand suddenly touched the little thing's forehead, only to see the word king faintly flashing on its furry forehead. Her fingers had just touched the little thing's forehead. The little thing opened its mouth and let out a soft moan and actually closed its eyes in enjoyment. Its sharp fangs were incomparably sharp. It is one of the 4 ancient sacred beasts, the white tiger. Old Man Song's voice came again, his tone couldn't conceal his emotions. I didn't expect it to take the initiative to find you. For ancient sacred beasts? Mu Ran searched through her memory. Regarding this knowledge, the original owner of the body didn't have a deep memory. She only knew that in the Nirvana realm, there were all kinds of profound beasts. These profound beasts, like humans, were divided into different levels. According to the strength and talent of each profound beast, the ordinary ones were collectively called magic beasts. Magic beasts were divided into low-level magic beasts, middle-level magic beasts, and high-level magic beasts. Further up was the mirage beast level. Mirage beasts had their own consciousness. A small number of them could speak human language and communicate with their masters. There were also 3 levels of low, middle, and high. Above the mirage beast were the legendary sacred beast. Looking at the entire Nirvana realm, there were only 4 sacred beasts that had always been by the side of the divine emperor in the ancient times. Eastern azure dragon, southern vermilion bird, western white tiger, and northern black tortoise. However, these 4 legendary sacred beasts had long disappeared after the death of the divine emperor. How could one of the ancient sacred beasts find her? Could it be that the sacred beast could see that she was a transmigrator and wanted to take advantage of the good luck of a transmigrator? Don't underestimate it. Old Man Song saw through the suspicion in Yiqing Luo's eyes. He poked her head. It took the initiative to find you and make a contract with you. Therefore your strength determines its ability. In other words, she was strong, so was White Tiger. She was weak, so was White Tiger. In other words, after forming a contract with her, the White Tiger would lose its power as a holy beast and would only be left with a layer of holy beast power. Only when she grows up step by step, will the White Tiger grow up with her. In that case, it seemed like she was the one who had dragged White Tiger down. The power of the White Tiger has already been sealed within the Azure Dew bracelet. This will be of great help to your cultivation. Old Man Song sensed that the Azure Dew bracelet's scorching heat was gradually dissipating, and his spirit body leisurely drilled into the Azure Dew bracelet. Now you and the White Tiger's power are interchangeable. You can take the opportunity to cultivate your feelings. This old man will go and check if the White Tiger's power is stored properly. In the blink of an eye, Old Man Song was no longer breathing. Roar, roar, the little fellow opened its mouth and cried out a few times. Its little claws kept on holding Yiqing Luo's hand. The palm-sized dumpling was extremely cute. She reached out and stroked its head. White Tiger. The little guy widened his eyes and stared at her with bloodshot eyes as if asking, "What's wrong?" Suddenly, the image of the majestic giant creature in his dream surfaced in his mind. He had already made up his mind. Chapter 77. Chichi. The White Tiger's blood-red eyes flickered slightly. It nodded its small head and roared happily. Obviously, he was very satisfied with his new name. Yiqing Luo teased Chi-Chi for a while more. Looking at the palm-sized little White Tiger's obedient look, the smile on her face grew even wider. In her cat form, Chi-Chi did not have any strange smell. She wondered if Chi-Chi, who had turned into a white tiger, would be able to make her faint from the stench, just like in her dreams. Thinking of that dream, Yiqing Luo suddenly congealed. He placed Chi-Chi at the head of the bed and sent his divine sense into the Azure Dew bracelet. Old Song. Yiqing Luo saw at one glance that the old man who said he was going to check on White Tiger's power storage was leisurely lying in the thin mist. When Old Man Song heard her voice, he almost fell from the mist. "Lass, aren't you cultivating your relationship with Chi-Chi? Why are you here again?" When he said that, Yiqing Luo was enlightened. It turned out that Old Man Song had been hiding in the azure dew bracelet all along, eavesdropping on her interaction with Qiqi. Old Man Song, are you hiding something from me? Yiqing Luo frowned slightly and stared at him fiercely. Ever since Qiqi appeared, Old Man Song had been acting strangely. Something was definitely wrong. This old man has many things to hide from you. You're still a little girl. Before the time is right, this old man will not say a word. Fine, if you don't want to answer, I'll ask. Yiqing Luo raised her brows and raised a finger. First question, what was that dream I had? Then he raised his second finger and said, second question. Why did the white tiger, one of the 4 great saint beasts, choose me in my dream? On the battlefield that was littered with corpses, no one could see or touch her. Why was Qiqi the only one who pounced on him? And even jumped from a dream to reality? After all, it was the first time he came to this world. The original owner's understanding of this world was too little. He was full of questions, but he could not get any answers. Old Man Song was also clearly avoiding her. Moreover, Old Man Song's expression was one of shock when he found out that she had contracted Qiqi. However, that kind of surprise was not because she had inexplicably formed a contract with one of the 4 great sacred beasts. Instead, she was surprised that Qiqi would take the initiative to look for her. As expected, Old Man Song's expression froze. After a long period of silence, he coughed dryly. This question, how could I possibly know? I've been sealed in the azure dew bracelet for who knows how many hundreds or thousands of years. I've long since lost track of the matters of the outside world. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes suspiciously. Seeing that she still wanted to ask, Old Man Song suddenly changed the topic. That's right, lass. Didn't you find the letter your mother left behind in the secret compartment last time? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she pondered deeply for a moment. If Old Man Song didn't want to say anything, even if she tried to coerce him, act spoiled and cute, Old Man Song might not say anything. Forget it, when the time comes, Old Man Song will naturally tell her. On this point, Yiqing Luo absolutely believed in Old Man Song. Thus, he didn't pursue the matter any further. Following Old Man Song's words, he said, yeah, I haven't had the time to see it yet. That day, in a secret compartment under her pillow, she found 2 letters left behind by her mother. Before she could read them, she was disturbed by Yi Fingyu. Speaking of which, she really should take a look. Why did Nyongqin specially leave 2 letters for her and Xiaoyu? And why did she hide it so deeply? Was it to prevent anyone from discovering it? Yi Tianquang? Yiqing Luo's mind immediately flashed this name. If it was really to prevent Yi Tianquang. Chapter 78. Yiqing Luo pondered for a moment and took out the brocade box her mother left behind from the profound phoenix ring. This was inside the azure dew bracelet, so she didn't have to worry about outsiders around. Anyway, when she woke up, she didn't see Zhou Xian, nor did she sense his presence. Old Man Song dared to appear in her room in his spiritual form. This was enough to prove that Zhou Xian was indeed not in the Three Springs sect. Therefore she could boldly open the brocade box and take out the 2 letters. Yiqing Luo and her mother's relationship had always been deep. Right now, holding these 2 letters and looking at her mother's familiar handwriting, Yiqing Luo felt her nose turn slightly sour. Her fingers trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a piece of yellowed paper. What surprised Yiqing Luo the most was the material of the paper. It obviously looked like a thin piece of paper, but when she touched it, it actually felt like leather. A small piece stacked layer upon layer. When it was spread out on the table, it was the size of half a wooden table. This is... Yiqing Luo was astonished. She stretched out her finger and stroked along the paper. This was not a letter at all, but a map. It was an extremely complicated and dazzling map. On the paper that was the size of half a wooden table, densely packed routes were marked. Even Yiqing Luo couldn't guarantee that she would be able to move unimpeded in this map. Why did her mother leave her such a complicated map? Her heart was filled with mixed feelings. Yiqing Luo's slender brows knitted into a ball. What an intricate map. Old Man Song floated in midair, glanced at the map and couldn't help but sigh. Yiqing Luo suddenly looked up. Do you know what place this map is? Old Man Song frowned and stared carefully for a while, stroking his grizzled beard. This old man has roamed the Nirvana realm for many years, but I have never seen this map, nor have I seen a place that matches this map. Even Old Man Song didn't know. This map, what kind of place was it? Yiqing Luo glanced at the other letter in the brocade box. She opened it, it was a letter. She thought that in the envelope there would also be a complicated map. She was still thinking if the box and the 2 letters that her mother left behind were maps. She was going to form a treasure hunting and digging team. Nyangqin's graceful handwriting is on the letter paper. My child, if you sees the brocade box, I implore you to deliver these 2 letters to your sister as soon as possible. What I'm about to say next is what mother wants Luo to say. This map belongs to Luo. Only Luo can reach the final destination. Promise mother that after you get the map, you must not tell anyone. You must protect yourself. This map must not be made known to anyone. Otherwise, it will bring about a fatal disaster. Towards the end, his handwriting became slightly weak, as if he didn't have the strength to continue writing. Yiqing Luo's vision looked towards the map on the table as her expression turned grave. What kind of map was it? And it would bring about a fatal disaster? Yiqing Luo was getting more and more interested in understanding the destination of this map. With a wave of her hand, she stored the map and letter into the profound phoenix ring. As soon as she came out of the azure dew bracelet, Yiqing Luo's ears twitched. She heard the sound of hurried footsteps, sometimes heavy and sometimes light. When she reached the door, Yiqing Luo could hear that person's heavy breathing. Chapter 79. It was Ziling. Yiqing Luo got out of bed just as Ziling rushed in. She held her lame leg and panted anxiously, "Miss 8th young master." 8th young master was punished by master. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed. Yi Fengyu's punishment was expected. Yi Tianquang was seriously injured and full of anger. At this critical juncture, Yi Fengyu wanted to express his concern, and at the same time, plead for leniency for his older sister. Yi Tianquang would naturally vent his anger on him. The other concubines had long hated Yi Fengyu for occupying the position of the first wife's son for many years and would fan the flames. With his temper, it would be strange if he didn't suffer. Yiqing Luo was in no hurry. If she didn't let Yi Fengyu suffer and hand over his heart to the wrong person, he would never learn to grow up. Did he follow Yi Qingqian all the way to Yi Tianquang's bedroom? Yiqing Luo didn't even bother to call him by his name. Ziling was startled and immediately looked around. As a daughter, it was unfilial to call an elder by his name. She made sure there was no one around and nodded with relief. Then he knelt outside the bedroom until Yi Tianquang woke up and wanted to plead for me. Instead, he was humiliated by the 2nd and 3rd concubines and sent to the ancestral hall. Ziling's eyes widened. "Miss, how do you know so much? Don't tell me, you were there too?" Sure enough. Yi Fengyu really followed her plan and carried it out one by one. Should she say that she knew him too well or that he was stupid enough to be understood at a glance? This was also the reason why she specifically asked Ziling to follow behind. To the ancestral hall. Yiqing Luo straightened her clothes and led Ziling to the ancestral hall. She rushed to the ancestral hall and was stopped by 2 guards. "7th Miss, this is the Yi family's ancestral hall. No one can enter without the sovereign's order." The guards were ordered by the 2nd madam to never let Yiqing Luo step into the ancestral hall. Yiqing Luo sneered. "Is it the sovereign's order or the 2nd concubines?" This form of address caused the guards to look at each other, hesitating. Yiqing Luo was the Yi family's first wife's daughter. As for the 2nd madam, she was just a concubine, not even a concubine. Only the people in the mansion called her madam, in order to please the 2nd madam. Thinking of the recent period of time, the entire residence was circulating about Yiqing Luo's change. The 2 attendants immediately felt their hair stand on end. He couldn't move aside, but he also couldn't not move aside. Yiqing Luo ran out of patience. She raised her palms and rolled up 2 huge waves, directly bombarding the chests of the 2 attendants. The attendant flew out. Yiqing Luo led Ziling to kick open the door of the ancestral hall and walked in to take a look. A ball of anger spread in his heart. Her pair of enchanting eyes were also filled with sparks of fire. The ancestral hall was dark, illuminated only by 2 white candles. The candlelight swayed back and forth, illuminating the spirit tablets. It added to the strange atmosphere. 8th young master. After seeing the situation in the ancestral hall, Ziling was also frightened and cried out. "Sister." Yi Fengyu heard the voice and turned to look. That immature and handsome little face was covered with a thick layer of sweat. Yiqing Luo's eyesight could see everything clearly in the dark. She clearly saw that Yi Fengyu's lips had been bitten and had traces of blood. He grimaced in pain but forced a smile and called out to her, "Sister, I'm fine, you go back and rest first." "Fine? You call this fine?" Chapter 80. Yi Fengyu knelt in front of the memorial tablet table wearing only an inner shirt. His inner shirt was torn in several places. Yiqing Luo could see that it was whip marks. What made Yiqing Luo most furious was, her brother was kneeling on the tiles. On a few bumpy and broken tiles. The sharp tiles had cut the skin of Yi Fengyu's knee and blood oozed out, staining the tiles and the ground red. Those people from the Yi family actually used such cruel means to deal with her brother. "Get up." Yiqing Luo strode in, her tone cold. "Sister." Yi Fengyu's face was pale but he bit his lips and shook his head. "Father said that as long as I kneel here for a day and a night he will forgive you. Get up." Yiqing Luo's tone became heavier, her eyes became colder. Yi Fengyu opened his mouth and was about to speak. "If you don't get up from now on, I don't have a brother like you." Yiqing Luo was really angry. Full of anger, raging in the bottom of her heart. "Since I dared to do it, I don't need any forgiveness. What's more, Yi Tianquang is not qualified to talk to me about forgiveness." Yiqing Luo's eyes were cold directly to Yi Fengyu. "If you still think of me as your sister, stand up now." "Sister." Yi Fengyu looked like he wanted to cry but had no tears. He could see that his sister was really angry. But father was father after all. What his sister did was against filial piety. If this got out, the entire West Continent and even the Nirvana realm would laugh at his sister for a lifetime. He didn't spend much time with his sister, but he knew her temperament very well. If he didn't get up, his sister would definitely turn around and leave, not acknowledging him as her brother. His heart was filled with anxiety. He wanted to move his body, but that only caused the tiles on his knees to dig even deeper into his body. The pain made his body tremble uncontrollably. "Ziling, let's go." Yiqing Luo sneered, turned around and left without saying a word. Ziling followed behind, looking at Yi Fengyu anxiously, then caught up with Yiqing Luo to plead. But when faced with Yiqing Luo's expressionless face, Ziling was stunned speechless. "Sister." Yi Fengyu was anxious. Seeing that Yiqing Luo was about to walk out of the ancestral hall, he immediately stood up and wanted to chase after her. Just as he straightened his legs, a tearing pain came from his badly mutilated knees, causing him to suck in a breath of cold air. He fell to the ground, breathing heavily. "Sister, don't go, don't go." Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps. But she did not turn back. She just stood at the entrance of the ancestral hall and looked at him coldly with her clear eyes. "Miss Eighth Young Master's leg." Ziling saw that her miss had softened, so she took the opportunity to speak up, wanting to help Yi Fengyu. "Walk over by yourself." Yiqing Luo's cold voice interrupted Ziling's thoughts. "Miss, step by step walk in front of me and swear to me that you are my Yiqing Luo's younger brother. You have backbone, you have guts. From today onwards, this pair of knees will not kneel to the heavens, not kneel to the earth, not kneel to anyone." Yiqing Luo's voice was cold as ice. She doted on her younger brother Yi Fengyu. She wanted to train her younger brother well. However, if Yi Fengyu was unable to mature no matter what, she would definitely not waste her time on a hopeless person. Kneeling is the way of the weak. Chapter 81. Yi Fengyu stared at Yiqing Luo in a daze, his pupils dilating little by little. In his heart, thousands of waves were set off because of Yiqing Luo's words. He knelt in front of Yi Tianquang's bedroom. He let the second and third household's concubines insult him. Second madam, in order to avenge her own daughter, used a soft whip and ruthlessly lashed him. He thought that this was to make Yi Tianquang forgive Yiqing Luo. So, it was okay for him to suffer a little for his sister. But he forgot Yiqing Luo's character. How could she care about Yi Tianquang's forgiveness? "Sister, I understand." Yi Fengyu lowered his eyes. Thinking of this period of time, Yiqing Luo's teachings and the words she said to him. He was a man. A real man with an indomitable spirit was unyielding and unyielding. There were many ways to protect his sister. But this time he chose the stupidest one. Even if he really knelt for a day and night, his father would not let his sister off. There were too many uncertain factors. It was better to grasp all the certainty in his own hands. Yiqing Luo looked at him indifferently, watching his pair of dazed and helpless eyes regain their brilliance. Her worried heart finally felt at ease. Yi Fengyu endured the pain and climbed up. Two bloody legs swaying supported his body. Step by step he approached Yiqing Luo with incomparable difficulty. Every time he took a step forward, the smile on Yiqing Luo's lips deepened a little. Until he walked in front of her. Very good, you better remember today's pain. Yiqing Luo smiled and stretched out her hand to touch his messy hair. Immediately she looked at Ziling. Bring little Yu to my courtyard. Ziling got permission, nodded repeatedly and quickly walked to his side, holding his arm. Before the three of them had time to go out of the ancestral hall, they heard a sharp mocking voice. Seventh Miss, the ancestral hall is where the Yi family's ancestors are placed. How can you behave atrociously here? Outside the door, second madam, surrounded by several old women, slowly walked in. Old master is the one who punished eighth young master. If you want to take eighth young master away, you have to ask for old master's permission first. Second madam's eyes were filled with hatred towards Yiqing Luo. How could he not hate them? His two precious daughters were seriously injured one after another. Yiqing Ling's jade heart was destroyed, turning her into a cripple. Xianxia was almost disfigured, and if it wasn't for the medicine she got from her maiden family, her eldest daughter's face would really be ruined. All these were caused by this slut Yiqing Luo. Just as the second madam was about to step into the ancestral hall, a soft voice drifted over with the wind. According to the rules, second aunt, you are not allowed to enter this ancestral hall. The word second Inyong caused second madam's face to turn as pale as paper. What she hated the most were these three words. She was a concubine of the Yi family. Her name could not be included in the Yi family's genealogy, nor did she have the right to enter the ancestral hall. Seventh Miss is not only ruthless, even your mouth is so powerful. Second madam's eyes were sinister, her hands under her robe tightly curled into fists. Are you human? Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows slightly, smiling faintly. You. Second madam stretched out her hand and pointed at Yiqing Luo, her whole body trembling with anger. A good dog doesn't stand in the way. Yiqing Luo smiled again. Chapter 82. Yiqing Luo threw a look at Ziling. Ziling understood. She helped Yi Fengyu over the threshold of the ancestral hall and walked out. Second madam glared at Yi Fengyu fiercely, and a few maids behind her went up to stop Ziling. Without master's order, eighth young master must kneel in the ancestral hall today. Second madam growled bitterly. Didn't Yiqing Luo care about her brother? Then she would let Yiqing Luo have a taste of the pain she felt for the people she cared about. She must be prepared to bear the consequences if she dared to hurt her two daughters. The more second madam thought about it, the more hatred burned in her heart. She clenched her fists and a murderous look appeared on her gentle face. Take eighth young master back to the ancestral hall. Ziling was a cripple and Yi Fengyu was injured all over. How could they move when those maids blocked their way? Just as the old maids were about to pull them apart with a fierce look, a silent blast of energy exploded around them. Those old maids were inexplicably sent flying. Second madam's expression changed and she took a step back, staring at Yiqing Luo in horror. Speaking of second madam's identity, it was a bit embarrassing. She was a collateral relative of the Yuqi family. This was also one of the reasons why Yiqing Luo wanted to provoke the feud between the Yuqi family and the Three Springs sect. A collateral relative of a profound practitioner's family naturally had a high level of profound cultivation. Second madam clearly felt that just when the maids were about to catch Ziling and Yi Fengyu, Yiqing Luo's body suddenly rose a cold wave of qi. That wave of qi was so powerful that it made people tremble. Immediately those maids were sent flying by the wave of qi. However, from beginning to end Yiqing Luo did not move at all. To be able to release profound qi without making a sound. How strong was Yiqing Luo? Second madam felt a chill down her spine and looked at Yiqing Luo with fear in her eyes. But how could she be willing to bow down to Yiqing Luo? At this moment, suddenly a gentle laughter came. We are all family, why bother to fight and hurt each other's harmony? They looked towards the direction of the voice. A man in a white robe walked over leisurely, waving a folding fan. There was an olive-colored python belt around his waist, and a jade pendant hung from it. His face was also very good. His skin was like jade and his pair of warm eyes seemed to carry a myriad of tenderness. Yi Fengru, the second young master of the Yi clan. Yiqing Luo's mind suddenly flashed this person's name. Sure enough, he lived up to his name, looking like a refined and noble young master. Second young master. The second madam's face darkened when she saw him. The maids around him as well as Ziling bowed their heads and greeted respectfully, second young master. Yiqing Luo raised her brows and carefully sized up Yi Fengru as her lips curled into a meaningful smile. Yi Fengru was in the Yi clan. Although he didn't follow Yi Tianquang, he was in charge of the Yi clan's business and Three Springs sect's affairs. However, he was in charge of all the expenses of the Three Springs sect. He was equivalent to the housekeeper of the Yi clan. Although Yi Fengru seemed as warm as jade, his eyes were filled with a bit of gloominess. This person was definitely not as simple as he seemed on the surface. Manage. Family. He really managed this family obediently. In the entire Three Springs sect who did not respect Yi Fengru. This was the power of Yi Fengru. Second young master, you came at the right time, come and judge. Second madam's eyes rolled and suddenly complained to Yi Fengru. Chapter 83. Second madam pushed everything onto Yiqing Luo and brought up Yi Tianquang's orders. As long as Yi Fengru was willing to stand on her side, Yiqing Luo would not be able to escape today. Yi Fengru lightly swept a glance at Yiqing Luo and immediately shifted his line of sight to the inside of the ancestral hall, on those few tiles. The tiles were stained with blood and so was the ground. Looking at the wounds all over Yi Fengru's body, anyone who wasn't blind could tell what the truth was. Yiqing Luo didn't say anything. She wanted to see who this second brother of hers who was in charge of the inner court was. All eyes were on Yi Fengru. A moment later, Yi Fengru's lips curled into a faint smile as he stared at Yi Fengru. Just when everyone thought that he was going to judge, they heard him say something irrelevant. Eighth younger brother, I heard that you've been admitted to the Heavenly Academy? What was going on? The second madam's expression immediately changed and she was extremely embarrassed. Yi Fengru was directly ignoring the second madam. He didn't put the second madam in his eyes at all. Yiqing Luo was also slightly stunned, not understanding the meaning of Yi Fengru's words. Yes. I received the admission notice yesterday, Yi Fengru replied softly. Second brother is in high profound class 2. If he is bullied in the academy he can come to class 2 to look for second brother. Yi Fengru's gentle eyes narrowed slightly as if he was happy for his brother. Yi Fengru, who was originally weak and leaning on Ziling's support, suddenly raised his head. Zhou Xian, his tone was filled with yearning. Seeing Yi Fengru in a trance, muttering the two words, Zhou Xian in a daze, the smile on Yi Fengru's face gradually deepened. Eighth younger brother, go back and recuperate. The Heavenly Academy is different from ordinary academies. Yi Fengru pretended to be concerned. For new students who have just entered the academy, other than the admission test, there's also the ability test. That's the test that decides which class you'll be assigned to study in. It's extremely important. Yi Fengru's eyes immediately lit up, and the corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. Thank you for your guidance, second brother. Yi Fengru waved his hand dismissively and motioned for Ziling to quickly help Yi Fengru back. The second madam's face was extremely gloomy. Listening to Yi Fengru and Yi Fengru's brotherly conversation, she gnashed her teeth in anger. Second young master, he can't leave. The second madam stood in front of Yi Fengru. It is the master who wants to punish the eighth young master. The eighth young master cannot leave the ancestral hall. The corner of Yi Fengru's lips curled up, and he displayed a scholarly air. Second mother, eighth brother is only a 15-year-old child. You're making him kneel on such sharp tiles. Aren't you trying to cripple eighth brother's legs? At this point he suddenly lowered his voice and smiled even more gently. If father knew that you destroyed the legs of the Yi clan's legitimate son, making the Three Springs sect the laughing stock of the Western continent, what would he do? The second madam shuddered and her expression changed drastically. Yi Fengru chuckled a few times, then waved his fan and gracefully left. The second madam was frightened, and when she saw that Yi Fengru's knees were badly mutilated and he couldn't even stand steadily, she didn't dare to act rashly. He immediately ordered the two children in charge of guarding the ancestral hall to clean up the tiles and blood in the hall. He didn't have the mood to bother about Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo looked at Yi Fengru's back as he left. Her eyes flashed with a touch of deep thought. This man was really not simple. In just a few words he resolved the matter without offending either side. Chapter 84. Yi Fengyu's approach seemed to be another purpose. It's alright, there's plenty of time in the future. She would eventually know Yi Fengru's purpose. Right now the most important thing was to heal his injuries as soon as possible. Yiqing Luo gathered her thoughts and hurried towards the direction of the abandoned courtyard. Fortunately, his injuries were only superficial wounds. Yiqing Luo took out the medicine that she used to rush to the level of an alchemist. Apply what needs to be applied, eat what needs to be eaten and drink what needs to be drunk. It would take at most 2 to 3 days for his wounds to be completely healed. What does the assessment competition that Yi Fengru mentioned mean? Yiqing Luo, who was sitting on the bedside, scooped up a spoonful of medicinal soup and sent it to his lips. She had lived for 2 lifetimes and this was the first time she took care of someone. Yi Fengyu was obviously a little uncomfortable as well. He shyly drank the medicinal soup in his spoon and said, "It's the class assignment test. Class allocation assessment?" Yiqing Luo searched her memory. The Heavenly Academy. She had some impression of it. The Heavenly Academy was the best school in the Nirvana realm. It was personally selected by the royal family of the 4 continents as the best school. Countless cultivators had racked their brains to enter the Heavenly Academy. This was not only a place to learn and cultivate profound qi, but also a symbol of status. Because those who graduated from the Heavenly Academy would basically have a place in the Nirvana realm. There had never been any cultivator who failed to make a name for himself. The premise of achieving 0 mistakes was that the Heavenly Academy's admission conditions were too strict. To enter the Heavenly Academy, one had to pass the top 10 assessments. From the comprehensive results of strength, intelligence, ability, potential and other major factors to determine whether one could enter the Heavenly Academy. A person only had 3 chances to take the assessment in his lifetime. Yi Fengyu had always been studying in an ordinary school. The Heavenly Academy was the place he yearned for. After getting the Peerless Immortal Pill from Yiqing Luo, his profound jade heart had been upgraded along with his profound qi. Under Yiqing Luo's influence from time to time, Yi Fengyu's state of mind had long changed. With this promotion there was a huge breakthrough in his strength. He took advantage of the excitement and directly applied for the admission assessment of the Heavenly Academy. He received the admission notice yesterday and actually passed the assessment. It's good that you passed. Yiqing Luo saw her brother's eyes lit up at the mention of the Heavenly Academy. The anger in her heart had almost dissipated. Ability assessment. Don't be too stubborn. Even if you are allocated to the low profound class, it's alright. The Heavenly Academy divided all the students into 4 classes according to their profound grade, potential and other comprehensive data. The low profound class was a class for cultivators with low profound levels and low potential. Intermediate profound class, it was a class for those with average profound levels, average potential but overall strength should be above average. The high profound class was a class for cultivators who were outstanding in all aspects. And the last class was the most mysterious class in the Heavenly Academy. It was called the class of gods. It was said that the students in that class were either geniuses or freaks. No one knew how many people were in that class or who they were. Who was in the class of gods had nothing to do with her. If Yi Fengyu could enter the intermediate profound class, it would already be amazing. Chapter 85. Me to enter the Heavenly Academy? Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes. This proposal could be considered. After all, she was in a different world. Although she had old man Song by her side, most of the time she was self-taught. A little carelessness could easily lead to qi deviation. If there was a professional master to guide her, it would be much better than learning by herself. But her profound jade heart must be tied to Zhou Xian. If she wanted to go to the Heavenly Academy, Zhou Xian had to follow. Otherwise, if she entered the Heavenly Academy, once the profound jade heart left the mother's power supply for more than a month, it would be easy to be suspected by other students. If others knew that her profound jade heart was just a temporary formation, she was afraid that there would be trouble. What's more, if Zhou Xian followed her to the Heavenly Academy, it would set off a storm in the entire Heavenly Academy. Thinking of this, Yiqing Luo shook her head. Even if I go to the academy, I can't be in the same class as you. You are a man. If you want to protect me, you have to become stronger first. You can't always think of me by your side. I just don't want the people in the family to look down on you. Yi Fengyu pursed his lips and lowered his head slightly. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled and suddenly understood something. Entering the Heavenly Academy represented a symbol of status. If she was admitted into the Heavenly Academy, it would also prove her strength. At least in the Yi family she would have a place for herself. At least, no one would dare to call Yiqing Luo waste anymore. Otherwise, it would be questioning the Heavenly Academy's vision and questioning the Heavenly Academy's teaching standards. Silly child. The smile in Yiqing Luo's eyes gradually softened as she raised her hand and touched Yi Fengyu's head. As long as the people you care about look up to you, I don't care about others. She didn't care about those unimportant people's opinion of her. She was not a coin. She couldn't make everyone love her. Of course, she didn't need everyone to love her. Seeing that Yiqing Luo had no intention to enter the Heavenly Academy, he had to give up. After drinking the medicinal soup, sleepiness hit and he fell into a deep sleep. Yiqing Luo let Ziling take care of him while she went to another room and prepared to enter the Azure Dew bracelet to study the teleportation technique. Just as she closed the door, Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly froze. A cold glint flashed across his calm eyes. Immediately after, his body swayed and in a strange posture he rolled on the ground and rolled under the table. Yiqing Luo quickly raised her eyes and saw a pair of purple-patterned boots with unique embroidery outside the table. Luo, you run as soon as you see me. Am I that scary? A chilly voice like the sound of a clear spring cleansed his heart. There was even a hint of a smile in that voice. Yiqing Luo's face darkened instantly. Faster, thief. It was Zhou Xian. She knew it. How was it possible for someone to appear in her abandoned courtyard without anyone noticing under the range of her senses? Other than the abnormal Zhou Xian who was beyond her imagination, who else could it be? You come and go like a ghost, can't you at least give me a greeting? Yiqing Luo abruptly lifted the table. Her petite body stood ramrod straight as she raised her little face and stared fiercely at him. Luo's vigilance is so strong, I haven't had time to greet you. Zhou Xian's face was full of smiles, slightly curved narrow eyes, sparkling with charm. When a normal person entered the house, they would feel a strong aura rushing towards them and would instinctively avoid it. Or was this the Overlord's unique way of greeting? Chapter 86. Yiqing Luo's pupils constricted slightly. You don't have to be so vigilant in front of me. These words were like a stone, splashing a ripple in her heart that was as calm as still water. Since young she had been designated as the future head of the family. And those sanctimonious elders were thinking of ways to take her life. To survive she had to make herself strong. She wanted to survive, she had to be alert every day. Even in her dreams the slightest sound would wake her up. Even if she had become strong enough and stood in the position of the head of the family, in charge of the entire hidden family, her strong perception had become a habit. No one could make her let down her guard. As long as I am here, no one will hurt you and there will be no danger. Zhou Xian's smile was so wild and confident. Yes, he was the overlord that everyone respected. No one in the world could match him. Indeed, he had the capital to be wild and confident. It was true that there was no danger by his side. If he wanted to protect her, no one could hurt her. But Yiqing Luo raised that pair of bewitching eyes, but the bottom of her eyes was clear. Her cherry-colored lips moved slightly. No, you will not be by my side forever. I, Yiqing Luo, do not need anyone's protection. The reason why you are standing in front of me now is because I have something that you need. Not taking it is just because the time is not right. Once the time is right, you will not hesitate to kill me, won't you? The cold voice stated the truth word by word. Yiqing Luo wasn't a fool. She wouldn't be so silly to put her trust in a man whom she didn't know at all. Zhou Xian was too powerful, too mysterious. He was not a man she could control. Once the thing he wanted was taken away, once she was of no use to him, Zhou Xian would not hesitate to kill her. The atmosphere was silent for as long as half an incense stick. Zhou Xian was slightly stunned and suddenly burst into a low laugh. His slender fingers pressed against his fair forehead and shook his head. He smiled helplessly and dotingly. Luo, you really are a wonderful person. These were indeed his initial thoughts when he first met her. But now, this little girl was very interesting. It would be a pity to kill her. If there's nothing else, go back to where you came from and don't disturb my cultivation. Yiqing Luo finished her words and waved her hand as if she was waving a fly. Then he walked directly towards the bed. Gazing at Yiqing Luo's back view, Dmo Xian's deep and serene eyes gleamed. After a while his thin lips curled upwards as his long legs strode towards Yiqing Luo, until it stopped beside the bed. Yiqing Luo had just placed her legs on the bed and had yet to lie down when she saw a figure standing by the bedside. She looked up at him. "Sir, is there anything else?" Dmo Xian shook his head, his jet-black hair fluttering in the wind as it cascaded down from his shoulders, further accentuating that peerless face of his, captivating one's soul. A wisp of it landed on Yiqing Luo's arm. She waved it away, raised her arm and pointed at the door. "Turn left and walk 10 steps ahead. I won't be seeing you out." Just as she finished speaking, her outstretched arm was grabbed by a white hand. With a stretch of his long arm, the woman's soft body was pulled into the man's broad embrace. Chapter 87. Yiqing Luo's mind was in a mess. Invite my ass." Yiqing Luo flipped her hand and threw a slap at Dmo Xian's face. Her hand was just raised when it was caught by Dmo Xian. Both her hands were easily held by Dmo Xian just like that. Yiqing Luo gritted her teeth in anger, but her body was pressed by the man and she could only glare at him fiercely. "Ah Luo." Dmo Xian's long and narrow eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a bit of demonic luster. He called her name in an exceptionally deep and husky voice. Then his peerlessly handsome face came into contact with hers. Their foreheads touched, their eyes met, and the tips of their noses touched. His warm breath sprayed on Yiqing Luo's face. His dark red thin lips were slightly hooked. At such a close distance, there was a fluffy luster as if tempting to pluck it. Yiqing Luo inexplicably thought of the kiss with Dmo Xian. That was her first kiss. Her nose was filled with the man's elegant sandalwood scent. Vaguely, she seemed to feel the soft touch of the man's lips. Damn. This evildoer was really an evildoer. This was too brainwashing. Yiqing Luo couldn't wait to give herself 2 slaps. It's not like she had never seen a handsome guy. Was it necessary to look at Dmo Xian like a love-struck fool? Pft. Love-struck fool my ass. I saw it in your eyes. Dmo Xian's voice was lower and deeper, like mellow wine, intoxicating. Your infatuation for me. Infatuation your sister. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but burst out vulgarities. Damn it. She originally wanted to be a happy lady, but met this evildoer she was forced to become a shrew. The smile on Dmo Xian's lips gradually deepened. Wind, who was in the dark, saw the situation in the room. His cold and stiff face twitched a few times. He turned around stiffly, no longer looking at his own overlord who had long lost his moral integrity. He sighed helplessly. It's okay. Whatever the overlord does, he has his reasons. As long as the overlord is happy, it's okay. Inside the house, Yiqing Luo was pinned down for a while before her face turned cold. How long do you want to maintain this position? Dmo Xian raised his brows slightly. If you want, you can maintain it for as long as you want. I don't want it at all. Yiqing Luo gritted her teeth word by word. Let me go. Dmo Xian chuckled lowly, not letting go. What would happen if a shameless person met an even more shameless person? Answer, there's no solution. Damn it. Overlord, I'm still an unmarried virgin. You snuck into my room, hugged me and touched me. Do you want to marry me? Yiqing Luo's charming eyes were filled with a sliver of fury, as she simply smashed the broken jar. She didn't believe that this wouldn't scare him. However, Yiqing Luo had underestimated Dmo Xian's shamelessness. After hearing Yiqing Luo's words, the smile on his lips widened. His slender fingers tightened their grip on her jaw. A strand of long black hair fell on her face. If you dare to marry, I dare to marry. His dark eyes squinted slightly, revealing extreme laziness. From his eyes, Yiqing Luo could tell. He was not joking. Dared to marry, he dared to marry? Her heart seemed to be provoked. Yiqing Luo raised her little face, arrogantly squinted at Dmo Xian and said domineeringly, If you dare to marry, I dare to marry. Chapter 88. Domineering words and undisguised arrogant expression. Zhou Xian's eyes were filled with interest. These days he had learned about all the deeds that Yiqing Luo had done from Guardian Feng. These 2 days he had been observing secretly. He had some understanding of Yiqing Luo's character. Vengeful, ruthless and decisive. She seemed indifferent and heartless, but when it comes to the people she cared about, she would use her own way to help the other party. Especially that pair of eyes, charming, cold and arrogant, deeply attracted his attention. This woman was different from ordinary women. There was a feeling that was extremely similar to him. A decision was formed in his heart. Come to think of it, in the future he would not be lonely. I will remember your words. Zhou Xian loosened the restraint on Yiqing Luo and slowly straightened up. His fingers circled around his chest. In the future I will come back to fulfill the promise between us today. Promise? What nonsense promise? Did he really treat what he said earlier as a verbal agreement between both parties? Hey. Did he misunderstand something? She was about to open her mouth to clarify that what she said earlier was absolutely not a promise. But she saw Zhou Xian sitting by the bed with a serious face. Your brother's suggestion can actually be considered. The topic changed and Yiqing Luo didn't want to repeat the issue of marriage. Otherwise, Zhou Xian would think that she was crazy for marrying. Yiqing Luo also put on a serious expression, raised her eyebrows and asked, admitted to the Heavenly Academy? Zhou Xian actually suggested her to enter the Heavenly Academy? Entering the Heavenly Academy is a good start for you. Zhou Xian nodded slightly. Although his attitude was lazy, but the words that came out of his mouth were worth considering. The reason why the Heavenly Academy is famous in the Nirvana realm is not only because of the school's strict enrollment, but more importantly, their strict teaching. You just started cultivating profound qi, your profound grade is not stable. If there is no master to guide you, you will easily go astray. The Heavenly Academy can help you to stabilize your own foundation. These thoughts were exactly the same as Yiqing Luo's thoughts. Whether it was cultivation or anything else, the foundation was the most important. As long as he had a solid foundation, he would be invincible. Luo, I've settled the matters in the Imperial Palace. I'll accompany you to the Heavenly Academy. Zhou Xian's lips curled into a smile as he leaned back. That pair of long, narrow and devilishly charming black eyes glowed with rippling light. You want to tag along? Yiqing Luo frowned. Without thinking, she directly rejected. No, you can't go. Who is Zhou Xian? The legend of the Nirvana realm. If he went to the Heavenly Academy, wouldn't the academy be in a mess? How could he happily learn the method of cultivating qi? I'll be in the dark. Zhou Xian suddenly leaned forward and his jet-black eyes coincidentally met with Mu Ran's line of sight. Won't cause you any trouble. Get straight to the point, what's your motive? Yiqing Luo didn't shift her gaze away as she looked straight into his eyes. Then she blinked her charming eyes, which were clear and cold. In your eyes, whatever I do, I have ulterior motives? Zhou Xian's eyes darkened as his slender fingers stretched forward. Yiqing Luo thought that he wanted to hook her chin again and quickly retreated. But unexpectedly, the back of her head coincidentally bumped into Zhou Xian's palm. He retracted his long arm and Yiqing Luo's entire body was pressed to the front of her chest by his huge palm. Chapter 89. The strong and powerful heartbeat was extremely rhythmic. The rich masculine scent and elegant sandalwood scent assailed her nostrils. This sandalwood scent, this body temperature. It was really captivating and intoxicating. To be honest, Yiqing Luo was stunned for a moment. This man always flirted with her when she wasn't paying attention. His actions had also activated the coolness and craziness of pulling down the sky. If Zhou Xian claimed to be the second best at flirting, no one would dare to claim to be the best. Ah Luo. Just as Zhou Xian called out her name in a husky and magnetic voice. Yiqing Luo suddenly pushed him away and raised her head. Yes, I heard you. Zhou Xian's brows relaxed a little as the corners of his eyes rose slightly. Yiqing Luo continued. I heard you, you do have other motives. She looked at Zhou Xian in silence. After a while, her charming eyes floated a pinch of crushed ice, glinting coldly. I'm not like those ladies in the boudoir, I'm not that stupid. Yiqing Luo stated her own views unhurriedly. The number one person in the Nirvana realm, the legendary overlord, fell in love at first sight with me, a famous waste from Three Springs sect, and wanted to marry me and so on. I have never thought about it. I'm not that arrogant nor that narcissistic. To make the dignified overlord willing to sacrifice his beauty to lure me into the trap. I guess there must be a reason for the overlord to go to the Heavenly Academy. After Yiqing Luo finished, her charming eyes lifted lazily and glanced at Zhou Xian. Not a word. As if waiting for Zhou Xian's answer. However, Zhou Xian did not speak. His lips hooked into a smile. That smile did not reach the bottom of his eyes. It was so cold that it sent chills down one's spine and made one tremble. Inexplicably, Yiqing Luo felt flustered. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but when the words came to her mouth, they were shocked by that pair of black eyes and she could not spit out a word. That pair of eyes had no emotions. However, everyone could clearly feel the chill that came from his bones. With a flick of his sleeve, the man let go of her head and turned towards the door. DMO. Her voice had yet to leave her throat. The purple figure had only taken a few steps before disappearing into the air. Not a trace of him could be seen. Yiqing Luo slid down the bed and searched around the house a few times. She specially used her perception to carefully sense the entire range of the abandoned courtyard. There was no sign of Zhou Xian. He left. Just like when he came, he was ethereal and silent. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips tightly and returned to the bedside resentfully as she leaned against the headboard weakly and sat down. She knew that Zhou Xian was furious. And he was very, very angry. Her doubts and distrust had agitated Zhou Xian. She did not know where Zhou Xian had gone to this time. Would he appear again? If Zhou Xian did not appear on his own accord, even if she searched the entire Nirvana realm, she might not be able to find Zhou Xian. The only thing he could do was to wait for him to calm down before he took the initiative to appear. But Yiqing Luo didn't regret her decision. She had never put her back in someone else's hands. She had never been forced to hand over the person behind her. The relationship between Zhou Xian and her was at most that of the profound heart Jade's mother and individual. Other than that, they could only be considered as strangers. She did not believe Zhou Xian and doubted him, which was a normal thing. She was not targeting Zhou Xian, but she would not trust anyone. Forget it, Zhou Xian had left, so be it. She flipped her hand and a small kitten the size of 2 palms suddenly appeared in her palm. With a leap, it pounced into Yiqing Luo's arms. Chapter 90. On the 3rd day after Zhou Xian left, Yiqing Luo brought Chi out of the azure dew bracelet. The room was silent. Yiqing Luo got off the bed and subconsciously looked at the place where Zhou Xian stood. It was empty, no one was there. There wasn't his unique sandalwood scent in the air. He hadn't come back for the past few days. Perhaps it was because Zhou Xian was angered by her. Yiqing Luo felt an inexplicable sense of guilt. What kind of weird feeling was this? This was the first time she had such a feeling. Could it be that what she said that day was too much? It seemed it was indeed too much. Yiqing Luo started self-reflection. After all, the other party was the noble overlord. He was willing to lower himself to be by your side. You should be satisfied. Why bother asking the other party's purpose? Maybe the overlord was just bored and didn't have a purpose at all? After self-reflection, Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. She suddenly remembered that Zhou Xian had arranged a spy by her side. That black-robed youngster called Wind. Why not ask him? If Wind was there, it meant that Zhou Xian was just sulking and would come back after his anger subsided. If Wind wasn't there, that meant Zhou Xian planned to never appear in front of her again. If Zhou Xian didn't appear, it meant that the temporary profound jade heart in her body could only last for another month. Yiqing Luo exhaled a mouthful of impure air and placed her palm on her chest, feeling the profound qi lingering around the profound jade heart. She really hated the feeling of putting her fate on someone else's hands. She must find her profound jade heart as soon as possible. Otherwise, she could only rely on other people's strength to live. She didn't realize that she, who had always been indifferent to anything and any strangers, would actually waste time to ponder over a man's heart. Yiqing Luo cleared her throat and called out in a probing manner, "Wind?" Her line of sight surveyed the surroundings. There was no sound. Yiqing Luo spread out her perception and once again probed for an unfamiliar presence. "Wind, there's something about Zhou Xian that I want to talk to you about." She had just spat out the 3 words Zhou Xian, when a whirlwind suddenly blew in the room. The wind stopped. A young man dressed in black stood at the door. His face was cold and emotionless. What is it? Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes. Sure enough, Dmo Xian's follower was still around. As expected of one of Lord Di Zun's subordinates. His ability to conceal his aura was truly impressive. She couldn't sense Ah Feng's aura at all. Even though Ah Feng was standing right in front of her. Wind. Should be Dmo Xian's secret guard. I'm fine now. Yiqing Luo collected her thoughts, smiled and shook her head. Since it was confirmed that Wind was still monitoring her in the dark, that proved that Dmo Xian would appear again. It looked like there was something on her that attracted Dmo Xian and he was determined to get it. Wind frowned as his face was filled with disgust. Yiqing Luo, don't go too far. If the Overlord wants to kill you, it's just a matter of moving his fingers. Do you really think His Majesty wants something from you? Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. Just as she was about to reply, Wind turned into a whirlwind and disappeared in front of Yiqing Luo. As though he didn't want to be alone with Yiqing Luo for even a second. Yiqing Luo didn't care about Wind's departure. His heart was rippling with ripples. That's right. Chapter 91. She had always suspected Dmo Xian's purpose in getting close to her. Well, she had decided. When Dmo Xian returned, she would apologize to him. Yiqing Luo pushed the door and walked out of the room. She had just stepped out of the door when she heard Ziling's voice. Miss, you are finally awake. Yiqing Luo looked over. Ziling was standing in front of the next door with her arms wide open, her face flushed red. Eighth young master Ling will never give in before Miss agrees. Yi Fengyu's handsome face frowned. Ling, move aside. If I can't make it for the ability assessment, I will be expelled from the Heavenly Academy. Your leg is not healed yet, Ling. Cannot move aside. Ziling said stubbornly. She remembered Yiqing Luo's instructions and was determined not to let him leave the room. After listening for a while, Yiqing Luo finally understood. Today was the day of the Heavenly Academy's ability assessment. The ability assessment and which class they would be assigned to was a crucial moment for the students who were admitted into the Heavenly Academy, because it would determine their fate. No wonder Yi Fengyu had to participate in the ability assessment even though his leg was not fully healed. Yiqing Luo waved her hand and Ziling stepped aside. She walked over and stared at Yi Fengyu with a pair of clear eyes. Yi Fengyu's scalp went numb and lowered his eyes. Sister, want to participate in the assessment? Yiqing Luo asked lightly. Yi Fengyu looked up in panic but was frightened by Yiqing Luo's gaze and immediately lowered his head. He bit his lower lip and looked hesitant. After a while, an inaudible voice overflowed from his lips. Yes. What? Yiqing Luo's voice was still very calm. No extra emotions could be heard. Yi Fengyu bit his lower lip even harder, almost bleeding. His hands were clenched into fists, trembling slightly. Immediately he took a deep breath and looked up again, no longer flinching. He fixed his eyes on Yiqing Luo's and said word by word, I want to prove my strength, I want to enter the high profound class, I want to stand firm in the Heavenly Academy. Yes, the Heavenly Academy was the place he had always yearned for. I want to become stronger, I want to protect my sister. Heavenly Academy is the only way for me to become stronger. Are you confident? Yiqing Luo's lips curled up into an extremely shallow arc. The ripples in her eyes softened a little. Yi Fengyu nodded vigorously. But I believe you. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and rubbed Yi Fengyu's head. The path of the strong needs to be walked step by step. Once you step on this path, you are destined to have no way out. On this path no one will help you. You will have to rely on yourself to persevere. Have you thought this through? Yi Fengyu nodded again. Yiqing Luo smiled, a satisfied smile. She could see Yi Fengyu's potential. She used the most suitable method for Yi Fengyu to stimulate his fighting spirit. Presumably, it wouldn't be long before the Three Springs sect would produce another astounding Xian practitioner. Yiqing Luo half squatted down and touched her brother's knee with her fingers. As soon as she touched his skin, she felt his muscles stiffen and his legs tremble. The injury was more serious than he had imagined. After recuperating for 3 days, he still hadn't recovered. Yiqing Luo rummaged through the profound phoenix ring and took out a white jade bottle. Take one and it will temporarily seal your pain. But After the effect is over, I'm afraid your leg will suffer 10 times the pain. Chapter 92. Yiqing Luo rebandaged her brother's knee as fast as she could. Don't think you can mess around just because you're not afraid of pain. You have to pay more attention to yourself. If you want to become stronger and protect me, the most important thing is to ensure your own safety. Yiqing Luo muttered as she knocked on his knee. Especially these two legs, be more aware if you don't want to be crippled. After estimating the time, the three of them immediately rushed to the Heavenly Academy. The Heavenly Academy was indeed worthy of being the best academy. The test plaza was bustling with activity, and not even a drop of water could trickle through. As far as the eye could see, it was full of heads without any gaps. Yi Fengyu took the admission form to register for the ability assessment. Yiqing Luo and Ziling stayed in a corner. Every time the Heavenly Academy recruits new students, the Three Springs Square is always the most lively. Ziling's big eyes were shining as she looked around. Since Ziling entered the Heavenly Academy, she had been taking care of Yiqing Luo in the Heavenly Academy. Due to her leg's inconvenience, she had never left the Heavenly Academy. This time, it was an extremely novel thing for her to leave the Heavenly Academy. However, even without stepping out of the Three Springs sect, Ziling knew a lot of news outside. Miss, do you think 8th young master can pass the assessment? I heard that the Heavenly Academy's assessment is particularly abnormal. If he can't pass, the Heavenly Academy will directly announce his results in public regardless of who he is. This was considered a kind of humiliation. What kind of blow would it be to the students who participated in the assessment to announce the results in public? The only thing we can do now is to believe in him. Yiqing Luo smiled faintly. From the moment Yi Fengyu stepped into the square, it had already foreshadowed that this road could only be walked by himself. Yiqing Luo didn't think that she had the ability to help him in front of the Heavenly Academy's many referees and elders. Moreover, with her current strength it would be difficult to help him. So the only thing she could do was to believe and wait. Miss. Look, it's the two young masters from the Mu family. They actually came to the Heavenly Academy. Ziling cried out in surprise as she pulled Yiqing Luo's sleeve and pointed to the side. The surrounding people also saw the figures of the Mu brothers and they were all astonished. Damn. Are we dreaming? Mu Zifan and Mu Zifei are here too? Are they here to participate in the ability test or to take a stroll? They must be here for the ability assessment. I've participated in the enrollment every 6 months. It's been 3 times that I haven't seen the Mu brothers. There were bursts of exclamations and envious voices around. Mu family. Yiqing Luo heard the keyword and her brows rose as she followed everyone's line of sight. Mu Zifan walked at the front. His blue robe made his temperament even more outstanding. He gently waved the folding fan in his hand, a warm but distant smile on his face. Mu Zifei followed closely behind, greeting the surrounding people from time to time. Mu Ziqing Mu Zishao and Luo Mu as he is possible. Mu Yiqing Luo's look. Mu Yao Shao Mu to say. Qing Luo as you. As Feng is. As she said that as she could. Mu Zi Mu He Luo. Master. I can I. Ich can. I am I. Luo. It was said that maids follow their masters. Don't let the Mu brothers see Ziling's infatuated look. Otherwise, it would be misunderstood that she was infatuated with the Mu brothers. Chapter 93. Miss, the 2 young masters from the Mu family seem to be walking towards us. Ziling wanted to focus her attention on Yi Fengyu, but one of the Mu brothers was gentle and elegant like the wind. The other was handsome and incomparably amiable. 2 good-looking men walked directly towards him. How could an ordinary girl move her eyes away? Not only was Ziling unable to maintain her composure, the girls around Yiqing Luo were also panting and screaming with excitement. This momentum was comparable to a celebrity meeting with his fans. The assessment square was oval in shape. The viewing area for all forces also circled around the square. The Three Springs sect's area of influence was located on the right-hand side of the main stage. And on the left-hand side of the main stage was the royal family area. These were the symbol of status, the 2 most distinguished positions. At this time in the Three Springs sect area, Yi Qingling stared fiercely at the audience area opposite. Elder sister, that little slut Yi Qingluo is also here. Yi Qingqian sat elegantly on one side. Hearing her sister's words, she covered her mouth and chuckled lightly. Yi Fengyu is also admitted into the Heavenly Academy, don't worry. The implication was that Yi Qingluo was only accompanying Yi Fengyu and would not participate in the assessment to confront her. When I see her I can't take it anymore. Yi Qingling bit her lower lip. The injury and pain from the last time she was tortured by Yi Qingluo had yet to recover. On the second day of recuperation, she received the admission letter from the Heavenly Academy. This was the only chance for her to climb back up in the Yi family. Yi Qingling gritted her teeth and endured the pain to participate in the ability assessment. Yi Qingling blamed Yi Qingluo for the pain of participating in the competition. If it wasn't for Yi Qingluo, she would definitely be able to smoothly enter the Heavenly Academy with her profound grade. Don't make trouble at the crucial moment. Since I have promised to let you enter the high profound class smoothly, I will definitely do it. Yi Qingqian pinched her sister's little hand. A touch of determination flashed across her eyes. You all, work hard and do your best to the two young masters of the Mu family, don't let daddy down. Ever since Yi Tianquang had completely fallen out with the Yuqi family under Yi Qingluo's scheme, he went looking for the Mu family. Because the Mu family's two young masters had beaten up Wuxia at the pristine elixir medicine store, they didn't even feel like maintaining a peaceful relationship with the Yuqi family on the surface. Naturally, they were closer to the Three Springs sect. Yi Tianquang also seized the opportunity and set his sights on the two unmarried young masters of the Mu family. Yi Qingling's little face finally revealed a smile. Since young, there was nothing that Big Sister couldn't do. Since Big Sister had spoken, she absolutely believed in Big Sister. Furthermore, the two young masters of the Mu family, at the thought of the two handsome and refined young masters, Yi Qingling shyly lowered her eyes. I know, eldest sister. She had asked around and found out that the Mu brothers were in the high profound class. As long as she could successfully enter the high profound class, she could use the excuse of being family friends to get close to them. Wasn't everything like water gathering? But the Mu brothers were both so handsome and both of them were very strong. They were on par with each other. Who should she choose to be her husband? Yi Qingling thought happily in her heart. However, this was just the beginning of this beautiful dream. Yi Qingling's gaze suddenly fixated on a certain place and immediately her whole body trembled with anger. Eldest sister. In the audience area opposite, the Mu brothers stopped in front of Yi Qingluo. The three of them seemed to be talking about something and Yi Qingluo's smile was extremely alluring. Chapter 94. Long time no see. 7th Mississippi. Mu Zifan greeted her warmly. Yi Qingluo nodded with a smile. I told you to come to the assessment square today. Look, I met 7th Miss. Sure enough, this is fate. Mu Zifei put his hand on Mu Zifan's shoulder, popped out his head and smiled in surprise. 7th Miss wants to enter the Heavenly Academy? Mu Zifan asked warmly with a modest smile on his face. Accompany Xiao Yu to participate in the assessment. Yi Qingluo shook her head and glanced at her brother who had already received his number and was standing in the waiting area waving at her. 7th Miss is such a capable person, why not enter the Heavenly Academy? Mu Zifan shook his head with a look of pity. With 7th Miss ability, entering the high profound class should not be a problem. Yi Qingluo only smiled faintly and did not respond. In her heart there was a bit of relief. Previously she refused to enter the Heavenly Academy because she considered that her profound jade heart was bound to Zhou Xian. After that, Zhou Xian took the initiative to let her enter the Heavenly Academy, and he was so angry that he ran away. If she was admitted into the Heavenly Academy, would Zhou Xian's anger be appeased? This thought flashed through Yi Qingluo's mind. She shook her head repeatedly and secretly spat a few times in her heart. Why did she care so much about whether Zhou Xian was angry or not? 7th Miss, are you possessed? Mu Zifei looked at Yi Qingluo strangely. Seeing her suddenly frowning and suddenly shaking her head, he could not help but laugh. Yi Qingluo sobered up from her thoughts, pursed her pink lips and rolled her eyes. When does the assessment end? The assessment period of the Heavenly Academy was half a month. The first 10 days was the time for the assessment. 3 days after receiving the admission form, You must go to the Heavenly Academy for the ability assessment to facilitate the class allocation. Today at midnight. Mu Zifan raised his eyebrows slightly, his eyes lit up and revealed a smile. Is 7th Miss ready to participate in the assessment? The last day of the assessment? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly. She was still thinking of asking Wen to contact Zhou Xian after they returned, to probe for his reaction. Otherwise, if she entered the Heavenly Academy and Zhou Xian still sulked and refused to appear, wouldn't she be embarrassed? In this way we're students from the same academy. Mu Zifei didn't notice Yiqing Luo's change and happily clapped his hands. He hooked his arm over Yiqing Luo's shoulder like a good brother. Let my brother write a recommendation letter for you to guarantee that you won't have any pressure to enter the hospital. With Miss Seven's strength, she doesn't even need a recommendation letter to be admitted into the academy. Mu Zifan pulled Mu Zifei's ear and pulled him behind him. Also, no matter how valiant 7th Miss is, she's still a woman. Flirting in public, do you want to ruin 7th Miss' clean reputation? Mu Zifei covered his ears, howling in pain. If it's ruined, then it's ruined. At worst I'll marry her. Yiqing Luo's mouth twitched. Was she really that tough? Is he as tough as a man? However, to be able to joke around like this, it was enough to prove that they truly treated her as a friend. She chuckled and rolled her eyes at him. Even if you want to marry me, I'm not willing to marry you. The moment she finished speaking, a low and husky magnetic voice seemed to ring beside her ear again. It was as if it could take away one's soul as it softly said, "If you dare to marry, I will dare to marry." Her pupils suddenly constricted. For a moment her heart skipped a few beats. That damn evildoer seemed to have really brainwashed her. How could she always inadvertently think of him? Pft, pft, pft. Chapter 95. Mu Zifan squinted his eyes and tapped his palm with his folding fan. 8th young master is indeed injured. Judging from his walking posture, he must have injured his knees. Yiqing Luo nodded slightly. She bandaged his knee wound and it was inconvenient for him to walk with the bandage wrapped around his legs. Mu Zifan could see that. What about the others? If someone saw that Yi Fengyu's legs were injured and deliberately attacked his knees. Although he could not feel the pain now, it was because he could not feel the pain that he could easily mess around. Once the effect of the drug wore off, his legs would probably be crippled. Facts had proven that it was not Yiqing Luo who measured the heart of a gentleman with her own mean measure. The ability assessment was conducted in the most primitive way, arena battle. The contestants were grouped according to the comprehensive strength of the admission assessment. Those with similar strength or qualifications were put into a group to battle. Then 3 prestigious masters on the main stage would raise their placards to pass and be eliminated. And those who were eliminated would have one chance to challenge the students who passed the assessment. Of course, the students also had the right to refuse. If the challenge was successful, they would be admitted into the academy. The challenged would then be transferred to the next group to challenge others. Until the students lost the challenge qualification. This kind of harsh challenge could indeed stimulate the potential ability of the cultivator and thus select the best students. No wonder the Heavenly Academy was able to remain as the top school for a long time. Cough cough, Yiqing Luo always felt that. It was like watching a monkey show. With the sound of the gong, the headmaster of the academy announced the start of the test. All the students who received the registration form walked from the waiting area to the middle of the square. Around the square, 4 masters leaped at the same time. Everyone looked up and saw a palm-sized pyramid shooting out a golden light in the middle of the 4 masters. The students on the square disappeared in the blink of an eye. Soon after, the pyramid suddenly enlarged and with a bang, it heavily smashed into the ground. This was the treasure of the Heavenly Academy, Heavenly Pagoda. The Heavenly Pagoda could split into multiple spaces according to the user's thoughts and could accommodate any living creatures within the 6 realms. The admission assessment and ability assessment were conducted in different spaces inside the Heavenly Pagoda. The Heavenly Academy was very business-minded. If the onlookers wanted to know about the test in the pagoda, they would have to buy mysterious stones from the headmaster before the test. 1 upper profound stone required 1 silver coin to purchase. By injecting profound energy into the upper profound stone, one's divine sense would follow the guidance and enter the void space to watch the students' competition. It was Yi Qing Luo and Ziling's first time participating, so they didn't know about the upper profound stone. At this moment he could only stare at the pagoda and watch as the students were eliminated one by one. Yi Qing Luo was hesitating whether to take out some money from the profound phoenix ring and let Ziling buy some profound stones. She was very worried about Yi Fengyu's condition. Suddenly, a bag of upper profound stones swayed in front of his eyes. "Seventh young lady, this is for you." Mu Zifan smiled slightly. Yi Qing Luo was slightly startled as she was concerned about Yi Fengyu's condition. She didn't stand on ceremony and accepted it. "Thank you." Mu Zifan smiled elegantly. "Eighth young master's number is 302. Yi Qing Luo nodded and took out a piece of upper profound stone from the bag. After injecting profound energy into it, her divine sense was sent to the entrance of 302. Yi Qing Luo casually stepped into the entrance, and what greeted her was an extremely strong profound qi, covering the sky and covering the earth. It seemed that the two sides had already started fighting. Chapter 96. In the Heavenly Pagoda, the spectators who used their profound stones to enter could personally feel the battle in the arena. The spectators could feel the examinees' profound grade, profound qi, and could hear their conversation. But the examinee was in an independent space. Their profound qi could not hurt the spectators. They could not hear the audience's words. Just like Yi Qing Luo, her profound qi was flying all over the sky. Several waves of it went straight towards her face, but it passed through her body. Right now she was just a trace of consciousness. In the space there was a huge arena. Yi Qing Luo stood under the arena. The spectators were in the same space, so Yi Qing Luo could clearly see that there were two figures standing next to her. She didn't know whether it was fate making a fool out of people or enemies on a narrow road. Yi Fengyu's first opponent was Yi Qing Ling. His and Yi Qing Ling's comprehensive assessment results were similar, so they were divided into the same group. And the spectators under the arena were Yi Qingqian and Leng Fenghua. Seeing Yi Qing Luo coming in, Leng Fenghua's face revealed a bit of astonishment, followed by a flash of embarrassment. Recently he had been neglected by Yi Qing Luo, which really hurt his self-esteem as a crown prince. And Yi Qingqian's frequent flattery and charming appearance made him regain his confidence as a man. And he was entangled with Yi Qingqian again. But at this time, Leng Fenghua's heart was always on Yi Qing Luo's side. He was about to explain to Yi Qing Luo awkwardly. Before he could finish his words, Yi Qing Luo had already shifted her gaze to the arena. Her expression was indifferent. There was no fluctuation in her expression. There was no anger at seeing her fiancé with another woman. It was as if she had seen an insignificant person. Leng Fenghua's heart was ruthlessly stabbed. "Eighth brother, you've been a waste for so many years, why not continue to be a waste? Why must you fight with fourth sister for the opportunity to enter the academy?" Yi Qing Ling's eyes were full of ruthlessness as she said each word through gritted teeth. Yi Fengyu didn't have the cowardice of the past, nor did he have the hesitation and confusion of the past. His 5 fingers clenched the long sword and said, "Fourth sister, I can give up anything, but the opportunity to enter the academy, forgive me, I cannot give up." "Good. Very good. Since you want to die so badly, I'll fulfill your wish." Yi Qing Ling's eyes turned cold as a gust of cold air gushed out from the bottom of her eyes. Immediately after, the sword in her hand flashed with a blue light. In its place was a long sword shrouded in yin qi. Yi Qing Ling leaped up and a strong airflow was released from the long sword. A cold and sinister aura quickly enveloped the entire arena. The body of the sword gleamed coldly, exuding an evil aura. There was something wrong with that sword. The first time Yi Qing Luo saw the long sword in Yi Qing Ling's hand, she was keenly aware that the cold gleam of the long sword was too strange. The sword technique released by the long sword was imposing, as if it wanted to dismember Yi Fengyu's corpse into 10,000 pieces. His attacks were extremely ruthless, as if he was burning with anger and he was randomly slashing. When did Linger become so powerful? Leng Fenghua could not help but sigh. Leng Fenghua had done a thorough investigation on the few profound stage martial artists of the Yi clan. But he did not expect that after a period of not investigating, Yi Qing Ling had made such rapid progress. Yi Qingqian held Leng Fenghua's arm and smiled gently. "Fourth sister has always been intelligent, I just gave you a few pointers and you have grasped the essence. In today's ability assessment, fourth sister will definitely be shortlisted. Leng Fenghua originally felt embarrassed, but when he saw that Yi Qingluo did not even look at him, he was in a bad mood. Seeing Yi Qingqian deliberately showing affection to him, he was about to push her away, but then he thought, this Yi Qingluo was indifferent to him, wasn't she just putting on an act? If he and Yi Qingqian showed affection and aroused Yi Qingluo's jealousy. Chapter 97. It's not that Ling Er is smart, but your guidance is effective. Leng Fenghua smiled gently, stretched out his finger and gently hooked Yi Qingqian's nose. That doting and loving expression on his face could really deceive a few pure and innocent young ladies in the boudoir. Just like Yi Qingqian, her cheeks were blushing. She immediately thought that the flattery and gentleness she showed to Leng Fenghua these few days had made him change his mind. The smile on her face was even more gentle and coquettish. Your Highness's praise makes Jenner a little embarrassed. You're always so shy. Leng Fenghua pinched her face and gently kissed her on the forehead. He deliberately glanced at Yi Qingluo. But he found that her line of sight was not looking at him at all. Yi Qingluo looked at the ring without blinking, frowning slightly as if she was thinking about something. The anger of being ignored burned Leng Fenghua's heart. At this moment, Yi Qingluo really did not have the mood to care about Leng Fenghua and Yi Qingqian, these two unimportant people. Her heart was completely focused on the arena. She was full of doubts at this moment. Her sight was fixated on Yi Qingling without blinking. There was a treacherous look in her eyes. Because old man Song's voice rang in her mind, "Girl, this is bad. That fourth sister of yours has an extremely strong yin qi." Yin qi. Yi Qingluo had heard of it before. The full name was Profound Yin Qi. Cultivators who possessed Profound Yin Qi were all from the dark forces. These people hid in the dark corners of the world, cultivating secret arts that hurt themselves and others. Powerful, mysterious, ruthless. These people were the strange ones who were banished by the entire Nirvana realm. No one knew what kind of force the dark forces were. Just like the strongest palace in the Nirvana realm, the Emperor Palace, so mysterious that it made people shocked. Yi Qingling was actually related to the people from the dark forces. It's that sword, it's from the dark forces. Old man Song's keen perception set his target on that long sword. That sword. Yi Qingluo squinted her eyes slightly. From the beginning, she felt that there was something wrong with Yi Qingling's sword. Unexpectedly, it was from the dark forces. No wonder she could sense an extremely strong chill from the sword. This was the mysterious yin qi. No wonder she felt that Yi Qingling's swordplay today was different from usual. No wonder Yi Qingling was still able to stand on the stage after her profound jade heart was pierced. Yi Qingling. He had probably already made a soul exchange with the sword and completely handed over his body to the sword to control. The source of all this was the long sword shrouded in mysterious yin qi. The doubts that had been plaguing him since he entered the arena had finally been answered. Yi Qingluo let out a sigh of relief. She had thought that Yi Qingling was the same as her and had also formed a temporary profound jade heart to use. Who would have thought that the current Yi Qingling was merely a shell controlled by the evil sword? Little girl, I'm afraid your brother is no match for that sword. Old man Song worriedly said, the sword itself is indestructible. It doesn't feel pain, it doesn't feel fear, and the evil sword that is filled with mysterious yin qi is even more fearless. It will only fight until the sword is broken. Yi Qingluo's pupils contracted abruptly. Her fingers clenched into a fist as her eyes turned cold. This match was not fair at all. Even if Yi Fengyu couldn't feel any pain now, he was after all a human and he had direct senses. But Yi Qingling was just a dead object at this time. Moreover, Yi Fengyu was unable to deal a ruthless blow to Yi Qingling. But Yi Qingling, who was controlled by the evil sword, would not show any mercy. Chapter 98. Two figures shuttled back and forth on the ring. Rays of light shone brightly as profound qi soared to the sky. The long sword and the long saber collided with each other, and the profound qi exploded. After a few moves, Yi Qingling became braver as she held the long sword and kept releasing profound yin qi. At this time, Yi Qingling's crimson long dress had been tainted with yin qi. Her expression was indifferent. Only her pair of eyes were full of resentment and hatred. Although Yi Fengyu had been influenced by Yi Qingluo, she was still his fourth sister. Moreover, he still had to worry about his legs. The moment their profound qi collided, Yi Qingling's foot landed on his chest. Yi Fengyu felt as if his internal organs had been kicked out of his throat. A mouthful of blood spurted out and he fell heavily to the ground. His chest felt like it was going to explode. Below the ring, Yi Qingluo's expression changed slightly as her eyes revealed a bit of worry. Her feet subconsciously took a step forward. Yi Qingqian and Leng Fenghua, who were standing not far away, had been paying attention to Yi Qingluo. Yi Qingqian was a smart woman. She naturally felt the way Leng Fenghua looked at Yi Qingluo from time to time. Her heart was jealous, but she could not show it on her face. At this time, seeing Yi Qingluo's expression, she immediately laughed. Seventh sister, eighth brother, better admit defeat. How could he be a match for fourth sister? Just as her voice fell, a sharp gaze like a sharp knife cut straight at her. Under that pair of cold eyes, Yi Qingqian felt a chill down her spine. The Heavenly Academy is all about fairness. I think eldest sister should understand the meaning of this word. Yi Qingluo's clear voice came leisurely. Yi Qingqian's expression changed slightly but pretended to be calm. What do you mean by this? Fourth sister is representing the Three Springs sect in the battle. Do you think she would cheat? I have to ask you. Yi Qingluo turned her head and stared at Yi Qingling, who was laughing with a sword on the ring. Her pink lips curved into a mocking arc. Fourth sister's profound heart jade has long been pierced by me. She has no ability to gather profound qi. Yi Qingqian's expression sunk completely. Let's not talk about whether or not the Yi family has the ability to repair a profound practitioner's profound heart jade. Even if they do, Lord Father would definitely not use it on fourth sister. I have my ways. Yi Qingqian clenched her fists tightly. Shortly after, she hugged Leng Fenghua's arm and her tone became gentle. The monarch has bestowed countless rare treasures to His Royal Highness. There will naturally be treasures to restore the profound heart jade. Leng Fenghua, who was called out, was stunned for a moment. He lowered his head and glanced at Yi Qingqian, not understanding what she meant. On second thoughts, this was an opportunity to flaunt his wealth in front of Yi Qingluo. He raised his head arrogantly and nodded. Is that so? The smile on Yi Qingluo's lips gradually turned treacherous and cold. Her slender and fair fingers faintly brushed past her lips. Her charming eyes flickered as she said, "So the imperial family has actually colluded with the dark forces. That long sword is covered with mysterious yin energy. Mysterious yin qi and dark forces." These 8 words made Yi Qingqian's eyes flash with a murderous intent. More than that, it was unbelievable. Flabbergasted how Yi Qingluo knew that the long sword had mysterious yin energy. How did she know that long sword was related to the dark forces? Yi Qingluo. Who exactly was she? How could she be so powerful? Yi Qingqian's emotions were in a mess. She was afraid that Yi Qingluo would complain to the Heavenly Academy. Once she did, Three Springs sect would become the joke of the entire Three Springs city. Chapter 99. Yi Qingluo saw through her sister's thoughts at a glance. She sneered, her eyes were sharp. Three Springs sect is not that important to me if Yi Qingling hurt little you today. At this point the voice paused. Immediately she took a few steps closer to Yi Qingqian. Her charming eyes reflected a coquettish charm, making one shudder. I will definitely report to the academy that you used something from the dark forces to win. Yi Qingqian's face turned cold. Seventh sister, you misunderstood. Fourth sister is not holding anything from the dark forces. It's just a sword I borrowed from master. When Yi Qingqian was 10 years old, she was chosen by the head of the biggest sect in the Nirvana realm, 10 Views, and was brought to the sect to cultivate for 3 years. That head was Yi Qingqian's master. This statement was indeed convincing. The sword of the head of the biggest sect was naturally extraordinary. However, Yi Qingluo would not be fooled by a few words. She had old man Tsong in her own judgment. The long sword in Yi Qingling's hand was definitely a profound yin object. Whether it's a sword or an evil sword, I think the academy will find out. Yi Qingluo was too lazy to say another word to Yi Qingqian, nor did she care about her sister's twisted expression at this time. She just lightly shifted her gaze to the ring. Numerous holes were blasted out on the ring, flying stones were flying everywhere. Streams of profound energy collided with each other and exploded with a loud bang. Yi Fengyu was obviously forced to retreat again and again by the momentum of the battle. He was hit hard by a sword chi and flew out, rolling on the ground. Eighth brother, if you admit defeat now, I may spare your life. Yi Qingling stood in the air, yin qi lingering around her. That long dark dress was shrouded in yin qi and overflowed with a black breath. Yi Fengyu clutched his chest and forced himself to stand up. He wiped the blood from his lips, his handsome face was as calm as water. After taking Yi Qingluo's medicine, all his senses were blocked. He could not feel any pain. Fourth sister. Yi Fengyu breathed heavily, clutching his chest and gasping for air. His face was pale. I'm sorry, I want to enter the Heavenly Academy. He glanced sideways and fixed his gaze on one side of the arena. If it wasn't for the fact that Yi Qingluo was clear that she and Yi Fengyu were not in the same space, she would have suspected if Yi Fengyu had seen her. Coincidentally, his gaze met hers. Yi Fengyu's eyes were very bright, and the corners of his mouth curled into a firm smile. Immediately, the hand holding the long sword tightened, and with a leap, he once again rushed into Yi Qingling's attack range. That one look made Yi Qingluo's heart suddenly trembled. Yi Qingluo understood, he was fighting for her. If it was in the past and Yi Qingling wanted to enter the hospital, he would absolutely be willing to give up this opportunity. He still had one more chance to take the entrance exam. He could take the test again in the future. But today he wanted to enter the Heavenly Academy and become stronger to protect his sister. No matter what, he could not let go of this opportunity. Yi Fengyu held the sword in one hand and his figure shuttled back and forth between Yi Qingling's sword rays. This time Yi Fengyu seemed to have an epiphany as he slashed down with his sword and actually struck with an imposing manner. An unprecedented imposing manner. But, after all, the other party was just a body controlled by the evil sword. Although Yi Fengyu's ruthless moves had hurt Yi Qingling, it was just like scratching an itch to her. Chapter 100. Yi Qingling's reaction was extremely sensitive. No. It should be said that the reaction of the evil sword was very sensitive. Every time Yi Fengyu found a flaw in Yi Qingling's body to attack, the evil sword would control Yi Qingling's body to avoid it. It did not give him any chance at all. Yi Fengyu was once again hit by the sword and flew to the ground. Yi Qingluo clenched her fists, her charming eyes were deep and terrifying. She tried her best to suppress the anger in her heart. She could not stop this match. Even if she told the master about the evil sword now, it would take a long time to verify whether the evil sword belonged to the dark forces. There were thousands of people in the heavenly pagoda. It was impossible for the master to give up the whole match for one student. And what if Yi Qingling really went crazy and killed her brother the moment she left? She was anxious and impatient, cursing why the audience and the ring had to be separated into two separate spaces. Otherwise she would not have told him about the evil sword. Perhaps he felt the anxiety in Yi Qingluo's heart. Yi Fengyu, who was lying on the ground vomiting blood, suddenly turned over and stood up. This time he didn't lift his saber and rushed forward to meet force with force. Instead he quickly went behind Yi Qingling, stretched out his long arm and directly grabbed her wrist that was holding the sword. Could it be that the telepathy between siblings is real? Yi Qingluo saw his action and was immediately shocked. This was exactly what she was thinking. Yi Qingling relied on the control of the evil sword to stand on the ring. If her hand was bound, then the evil sword would be controlled. Yi Qingluo stared deeply at her brother's face that was full of blood and a few blue veins popped out on his forehead. His complexion became paler and the fingers that were clasping Yi Qingling's wrist tightened little by little. It seemed that he had exhausted all his strength. Sure enough, Yi Qingling's wrist was bound and she could not release her profound qi. Although this move can resist for a while, your brother's strength is too weak. If he is entangled by the evil sword's yin qi, he will be swallowed by the evil sword. Old Man Song's worried voice sounded. Yi Qingluo clenched her pink lips. She naturally understood this point as well. But she believed in her brother, believed in his pure heart. If the evil sword wanted to swallow or control humans, it could only catch a trace of darkness in the human heart. Yi Fengyu was a person with a pure heart. You want to steal my sword? Dream on. A tender shout suddenly came from the arena. Only to see Yi Qingling's aura skyrocketing, a pair of bloodshot eyes shining with a penetrating anger. Being entangled by Yi Fengyu and unable to move had already made Yi Qingling distraught. A stream of mysterious yin qi quickly spread out from the sword. Yi Fengyu only felt a sharp pain in his palm. An ice-cold chill instantly enveloped his entire arm. The pain of being corroded came from his arm. Immediately after, Yi Qingling's figure turned into a spiral snail and flipped in the air, breaking away from Yi Fengyu's grasp. He gave a back kick. It struck Yi Fengyu squarely in the chest. Yi Fengyu let out a muffled groan and was sent flying, crashing into the edge of the arena. This time he fell to the ground and could not get up again. Large mouthfuls of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Little Yu. Yi Qingluo hurriedly rushed forward to support him. In front of him was an invisible barrier. She couldn't go over, so she could only watch helplessly as Yi Fengyu gasped for breath. His clothes were already dyed red with blood. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.